Would members please take their seats for the call of the roll?
Arthur, you're not a member, so you can keep chatting.
Members, please make your way to your precinct. Take a seat for the call of the roll. Thank you.
You ready? Mitchell A. Abatessa. John W. Alden. John P. Almeida. Fawn Anderson. Matthew D. Aquaro. Jean G. Argento. William Bill Bates.
Here.
Janet L. Bennett. Louis J. Bernazzani. Antonio G. Betancourt. Tenley Page Bevins. Richard A. Bolduc. William E. Bradstreet. Cedric Butner. Amy Butler. Matthew B. Byrne. Sally J. Calhoun. Jeffrey A. Carey. Joanne L. Chain. Christine J. Cheatham. Lawrence P. Chisholm. Jennifer L. Churchill. Amy E. Cianciarelli. Kathleen L. Simon.
Here.
James M. Simon.
Here.
William H. Clark.
Here.
Peter E. Clement.
Present.
Annette Y. Collins. Claire T. Conway. Marissa Ann Costello. Joseph D. Cunchinata. Robert F. Cummings. Julie E. Curtis. Susan E. Dagley. Glenn M. Dagley. Andrea J. Daly. Douglas P. Daly. Charles C. Dame. Sarah J. D'Antonio. Lauren L. DeLuca. Christopher J. Dembowski. Jean N. Dempsey. Mary K. DePamphilis. Brandy L. Ditch. Corrine A. Doherty. Timothy T. Donahue. Martha J. Driscoll. Paul W. Ellsworth. Suzanne M. Iovecki. Paul D. Eovatius. Natalie Luca Fiore. Linda J. Flaherty. William F. Fooey. Arthur J. Francis. Rebecca T. Franke. Jane Fuller. Daniel A. Gagnon. Ronald A. Gagnon. Robert A. Gamer. Louis John George. Deborah Mary Gesualdo. Edward J. Gibbons. Kevin J. Gibbons. Karina L. Grace. Tim J. Gray. Jason Anthony Gross. Dana Michael Hagan. Mark C. Hannon. Eileen V. Harris. Marilyn Hazel. William K. Hersey. Katie E. Hislop. Kyle Hopkins. Donna Lynn Hopkins. John L. Jaworski. Mark Mead Jones. Gary Alton Jones. Patrick J. Kelleher. Carla E. King. Theodore Kontos. Marianne G. Kowalski. Sandra Sandy Lane. Noah Levitt. Rebecca Sims Lee. Ellen M. LaFavor. Mark F. Lentini. Robert M. Leshin. Charles L. Lincecum. Vincent J. Mackey. Donna Martin. Jonathan Mataracchia. Michael Matvichuk. Alan D. McCarriston. David P. McKenna. Lois McKenzie. Nancy A. McNulty. Paul A. McNulty. James V. Morose. Michael E. Morris. Stephen W. Murphy. Valentine N. Nana. Karen J. Nelson. Ross Nicheski. Robert G. O'Keefe. Richard J. Parker. Laurent R. Perrault. David R. Peroni. Michael W. Powers. William M. Prentice. Charlotte Prisco. John P. Pumphrey. Angela Pyburn. Corey K. Ryan. W. Coley Rybicki. Nova D. Samadai. Deborah F. Sauer. Kenneth G. Scholes. James M. Sears. Michael J. Shannon. Lisa Silva. George H. Snow. Michael J. Splain. Jennifer St. Arnault. Elizabeth Lisa Stockman. Richard D. Stoney. Bruce A. Sims. Janice R. Tybert. Monica L. Tybert. Kristen B. Tybert. Michael Trainer. Lisa Marie Trask. Richard B. Trask. Jane A. Tremblay. Gregory F. Tremblay. Kathleen Turcott. James P. Tutko. Mary Beth Very. Alan Weeks. Joanne Wheelock Rigucci. Peter J. Wilson. Kevin T. Wood. Daniel C. Bennett. Maureen Bernard. Michael D. Bean. Detroche Joko. David Mills. And then I have caucused in Lauren Steves. You have 98 present.
There are 98 members present, so I now declare the presence of a quorum. Congratulations to those who were caucused in. Let us stand and salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. You may take your seats. Before coming to order and beginning our business this evening, I wanted to share with you that town meeting member Andrea Daly is not well. We expected her here this evening, and unfortunately, she is ill. As members who are up for re-election know, our town clerk, Kathy Ellsworth, reaches out to you to ask your intention whether or not you were planning to run again for re-election. And when she reached out to Andrea this year, Andrea told her that no, her time had come to an end, and she was not going to seek re-election. So it was our intent tonight to recognize her for serving for 44 years as a town meeting member, in addition to all the various other boards, committees, and activities that she has participated in through her life in the town. So I'd like everybody to join me in a round of applause for Andrea and sending our warmest wishes to her and to Mike. Thank you. Do all members have a copy of the warrant articles and the recommendations of the Finance Committee? I now would like to appoint some tellers for each precinct. Hopefully we will not need them this evening. We have a short agenda. Precinct 1, Bill Prentice. Precinct 2, John Jaworski. Precinct 3, Sandy Lane. Precinct 4, Mary Beth Very. Precinct 5, Dan Gagnon. Precinct 6, Mike Powers. Precinct 7, Bill Clark. And as John Alden is not here for 8, I'm going to ask Jane Tremblay to stand in his place. Tellers should be certain to count their own votes, and the teller from Precinct 1 should be sure to count the votes of the members of the Select Board. For the benefit of new members as well as others, the chair will review some matters of information and instruction relative to the conduct of this meeting, most of which are procedural. The chair will read each article or summary thereof aloud, which will then be followed by the recommendation of the Finance Committee. The recommendation of the Finance Committee is the main motion. Town meeting members shall usually speak on all motions before any others. However, any citizen voter in the town will be permitted to speak after town meeting members have done so. As is tradition, all members addressing the body are asked to use the microphone. In special circumstances, the chair may permit a committee chairperson or the sponsor of an article or some other person, such as town council, to speak before others for the purpose of information or other explanation. This will occur this evening due to the number of warrant articles concerning zoning bylaw amendments. I will be calling on the planning board chair for a brief summary of the proposed bylaw changes prior to engaging in debate. This meeting, if it wishes, may change the order of discussion of articles in the warrant by majority vote. The chair reminds all present that no person may speak without permission of the chair, and that no speaker may be interrupted except for a point of order or privilege. All questions addressed to any other person present must go through the chair. Neither cross-examination nor reference to personalities will be permitted. They will be considered out of order. The chair retains the authority at all times to rule certain questions and comments irrelevant to the meeting. Direct controversies between speakers are an affront to the dignity of town meeting and will not be tolerated. All proposed amendments must be in writing, with a copy given to the town clerk. The reason for this is purely for the sake of clarity, so that we all know what we are voting for or against, and in order that a main motion after amendment can be clearly stated by the chair prior to voting. I thank all members who have given prior notice of possible amendments. There are some specific instructions concerning voting procedure. The chair will from time to time recite specific requirements for votes on certain motions. As a reminder, in June 1998, the town meeting voted to adopt Massachusetts General Laws, Chapter 39, Section 15, to authorize the moderator to declare adoption without count any vote requiring a two-thirds vote. Most of our vote is conducted on a voice vote basis. If the chair has doubt of the result of a voice vote, the chair will ask for a standing vote. Standing votes are taken by precinct, with each precinct teller reciting aloud his or her tally of those in favor, those opposed. The total of all precincts is then announced by the chair. If 7 members rising in place indicate they have doubt, the chair will ask for a standing vote. After the chair has made the announcement, the vote may not be questioned. Roll call voting. A roll call vote may be taken on any motion when the following conditions have been met. A motion must be made for a roll call vote at the conclusion of debate or after a voice vote has been taken. The motion must be seconded. Passage of the motion for the roll call requires a majority vote. A motion for a roll call vote may not be made after a standing vote has been taken and the results announced by the chair. Interruption of any method of voting will be considered out of order. The chair requests that all persons with cell phones or other electronic devices kindly place the device in silent mode or turn off. As always, no smoking is permitted on school grounds, and I would also like to call your attention to the location of the emergency exits in the room, which are clearly marked, and on either side of the room in the front and rear. The town asks for the cooperation of those citizens who are not town meeting members to refrain from taking part in any voice voting. The return of the warrant indicates it was properly served. There is a motion by Chairman Bennett that the chair omit the reading of the warrant, which has been seconded by Member Mills. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. I now invite you to open your warrants and go to Article 1, unpaid bills, to see what sum the town meeting will vote to appropriate for the payment of certain unpaid bills for previous years or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Madam Moderator, and good evening, everyone. We recommend that the town meeting vote to appropriate $15,985 as follows for the payment of unpaid bills for the previous year. $600 from Human Resources Advertising to the Massachusetts Municipal Association, $670 from DPW Other Auto Supplies to Garage Equipment and Service, Inc., $1,432 from DPW Traffic Control to the Town of Saugus, $435 from DPW Oil to Certified Laboratories, $140 from DPW Vehicle Inspections to Unlimited Auto and Truck Repair, $4,020 from DPW Elevator Maintenance to Buckley Elevator, and $8,688 from Legal Services to Clifford and Kenny LLP.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, this requires a 9/10 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 2, Transportation Network, to see what sum the town will vote to appropriate from the Transportation Network Fund or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that the town vote to appropriate $22,288.70 from the Transportation Network Fund into the Senior and Social Services Transportation Revolving Fund.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 3, Periodic Inspections. To see if the town meeting will vote to amend Chapter 9B of the General Bylaw to update the building use groups associated with the periodic inspections of buildings as determined by the State Building Code or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that the town meeting vote to amend Chapter 9B of the General Bylaw to update the building use groups associated with the periodic inspections of buildings as determined by the State Building Code.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 4, and before reading this, we were advised of a Scrivener's error within the town meeting booklet, and everyone should have received on their way in the corrected language which has been voted on by the Finance Committee this evening. Article 4, leash law. To see if the town meeting will vote to amend the general bylaw, Chapter 21, dog leash law, to update leashing requirements and address minor grammatical and formatting issues, or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to amend the general bylaw, Chapter 21, dog leash law, to update leashing requirements and address minor grammatical and formatting issues.
And is that as written in?
As indicated in the handout you've received tonight.
The proposed amendment, revised 12925. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 5, kennels. To see if the town will vote to amend Section 40, definitions, and Table 1, the table of uses, and Table 18-7, building and property uses allowed by CBZD of the zoning bylaw, to match state law regarding the distinct types of kennels and address internal inconsistencies related to kennel permitting, or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that the town vote to amend Section 40, definitions, in Table 1 of the Table of Uses and Table 18-7, building and property uses allowed by character-based zoning districts of the zoning bylaw, to match state law regarding the distinct types of kennels and address internal inconsistencies related to kennel permitting.
Could I ask the chair of the planning board, Mr. George?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Louis George, Chair of the Planning Board. With respect to kennels, I just wanted to provide a brief explanation of this article. The current, and I'm also here with Brian Zacchelli, our Planning Director, if there are any questions as well, that in addition to me. So the current definition of kennels contained in the zoning bylaw fails to differentiate between the several types of personal, commercial, and non-commercial kennels that the state uses, which creates enforcement and consistency issues. In some instances, the local bylaw is too vague, while in others it's stricter. This amendment ensures consistency with the zoning bylaw and between it and the state code. The most notable change being made here to be consistent with state law is the number of dogs allowed for personal use, requiring a special permit increases from 4 to 5. The proposed article also ensures consistency regarding the special permit granting authority for animal hospitals, the zoning board in residential districts, and the planning board in all others.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? This will require a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 6, garages. To see if town meeting will vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Chapter 40, definitions, and Table 1 for consistency related to garages in commercial and industrial zones, or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Chapter 40, definitions, and Table 1 for consistency related to garages in commercial and industrial zones.
Thank you. Chairman George.
Yes, thank you. With respect to Article 6, the current definition of a garage only refers to garages on residential properties. However, there are many commercially operated garages all over town. And so this article aims to rectify the discrepancy by updating the definition of garage and changing the table of uses to allow garages in commercial and industrial districts by special permit via the planning board.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? Hearing that this requires a 2/3 vote. Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 7, amendment to the Danvers floodplain bylaws to see if the town will vote to delete and replace Section 31 of the zoning bylaw and to amend Section 40 definitions for internal consistency regarding reference definitions as detailed in the warrant or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to delete and replace Section 31 of the zoning bylaw and amend Section 40 definitions for internal consistency regarding referenced definitions as detailed in the warrant, and further, that July 8th, 2025 be inserted in number 2, paragraph 1, in place of the statement, date to be determined mid-January.
Thank you. Chairman George.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to Article 7, the floodplain bylaw, this is an update to our existing floodplain bylaw to adhere to new FEMA regulations. It has been reviewed and approved by FEMA and is required for landowners to receive flood insurance. Because of the review process, it was determined that deleting and replacing the section was easier than tracking the changes. We've also received what's referred to as FIRM, the Flood Insurance Rate Map, and the FIZ, the Flood Insurance Study map numbers. There's no change to development standards, and all development in the floodplain overlay district must comply with Mass Building Code and 310 CMR Code of Mass Regulations. Those are the DEP regulations. And as was mentioned, the FIRM map date and the FIZ report date are effective July 8th of 2025.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 8, Groundwater Protection Overlay District, to see if the town meeting will vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 27, and the zoning map to reflect the new Groundwater Protection Overlay District as determined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend the town meeting vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 27, and zoning map to reflect the new Groundwater Protection Overlay District as determined by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
Thank you. Chairman George.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to Article 8, Groundwater Protection District, groundwater protection areas, these consist of aquifers and recharge areas that warrant protection, and really what's all that this is doing is updating the bylaw to reflect the new maps issued by the Commonwealth. The new map is dated October 3rd, 2024, which replaces a prior map which was last updated, I believe, in October of 2004. And one note here, too, is the Northern District is not incorporated with the new map because the well in Wenham is no longer operational. So that's reflected in the new map. But in essence, so what this does is this just reflects the Groundwater Protection District, reflects the new map.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 9, sign bylaw, to see if the town will vote to amend the zoning bylaws, Section 37, to incorporate the planning board sign regulations for character-based zoning district into Section 37 so that there is only one section that regulates signage in town or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to amend the zoning bylaw, Section 37, to incorporate the planning board sign regulations for the character-based zoning district into Section 37 so that there is only one section that regulates signage in town.
Chairman George.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This article seeks to reduce the number of sections containing signage rules down to one. The bulk of this proposal brings standards from the planning board's regulations into the zoning bylaw. Currently, there are two sets of rules governing signs, Section 37 of the zoning bylaw and Section 7.9 of the zoning regulations of the planning board. And the proposed amendment incorporates Section 7.9 from the zoning regulations into Section 37 of the zoning bylaw.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? This requires a 2/3 vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries. Article 10, addition to the zoning bylaw, to see if the town meeting will vote to add the zoning bylaw a new section to address outdoor lighting standards as follows, or take any other action thereon. Mr. Chairman.
We recommend that town meeting vote to add the zoning bylaw a new section to address outdoor lighting standards as follows, which is indicated on pages 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 in your warrant booklets.
We'll skip you reading all of that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mr. Chairman George.
Thank you, Madam Chair. With respect to outdoor lighting, and this is as I said, this is a new provision here, except for property subject to site plan review and some of the minor situations, the zoning bylaw currently doesn't regulate outdoor lighting. However, over the past 18 months, the planning office has received multiple complaints about lighting from abutting properties, primarily commercial properties, shining on, in most cases, residence properties. And staff looked at various model bylaws and other municipal bylaws. The proposed bylaw is a compilation of that research. It's neither the most, the simplest nor the most complicated bylaw, but it strives to find a practical middle ground related to light trespass and reflects public feedback received earlier in the process. This was discussed during one of our, during a land use summit in the summer. The electric division has reviewed this version, and one note as well, Finance Committee, during the hearing before Finance Committee, there was a revision to what was initially proposed in terms of the date. So holiday lighting that's temporary in nature, originally in the proposal was from November 15th through January 30th, and now it actually goes from October 15th through January 30th to take into account temporary lighting, for example, for holidays and Halloween.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any discussion? Chairman Bennett.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Good evening, fellow town meeting members. Article 10 is a response to complaints about lighting from abutting properties, and as Mr. George pointed out, primarily commercial. However, this proposed addition to the zoning bylaw goes beyond commercial uses, and in doing so infringes on our property rights as owners of residential units. Example, under D, light trespass will be prohibited by use of light by time. Motion detector lights will be limited to 10 minutes. I don't know who's going to monitor that. Illumination of building facades mounting on adjoining structures are prohibited, i.e., I will not be able to illuminate my property with a light from an accessory building, my office, on my own property. Section C exemptions. As Mr. George noted, the holiday lighting was changed from November 15th to January 30th to accommodate Halloween. However, that leads February to September out of the zoning bylaw. And not if addressed by zoning does it make these months unlawful, preventing Easter and the 4th of July from displaying lights. I originally thought to make an amendment to holiday lighting, but then we would be debating religious holidays, which would be improper. Therefore, I ask you to vote no on Article 10 because it infringes on your private property rights as an owner, and it limits religious holiday displays, and send it back to planning to come up with a bylaw that's friendly to Danvers. And Madam Moderator, when you're ready, I'd like to ask for a standing vote. Thank you.
Okay. Well, we haven't even gotten that far yet. The debate is not over. So let's continue on with the debate before we start talking about voting. Is there any further discussion?
Sorry, can I just get a point of clarification? In section D, number 8, it talks about flags, statues, and other pole mounted. Would this also include the downtown flag with the upward light?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just a moment, I'm just going to confer with our planning
Yep.
director.
Through you, or Brian Zakelli, Planning Department. There's a provision about temporary lighting that municipal lighting is not part of that. Anything above that, the zoning bylaw specifically says that the town of Danvers does not have to adhere to the zoning bylaw. However, we always try to be good neighbors, and if there's an issue, that's how it works. But generally, zoning bylaws do not apply to municipalities unless it specifically says a provision.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah.
Is there any further discussion? Before turning to, oh, sir?
Cedric Buettner from Precinct 8.
Well, we need you up at the microphone. We didn't catch your name.
Cedric Buettner from Precinct 8. I, in general, agree with the sentiments of overreaching on the residential rights, but I also find, as I read through this set of rules and regulations, that the language, as I'm reading through it, seems ambiguous, and it does, as I'm looking at it, I do get the sense it's brought together from many different pieces, and that the words and the language, if this is supposed to be an enforceable article, aren't necessarily clear and fully understandable. And in general, if we choose to go to a vote of yes or no, my preference is that I think the intent of having a lighting ordinance is very good. My preference would be actually to table it and then have it come back before the board in the next meeting. I don't know if a no vote will get the same objective, but I think this article that we have before us, I think would benefit from another opportunity for the zoning board to review and to really tighten, and then also to consider if we really do want to enforce these in the residential area.
Thank you. Is there further discussion? Before turning to voting, well, hold on. Before turning to voting, I am going to consult with town council, because while members can make a motion for a roll call vote, there's not a mechanism in our town meeting rules that allows for a standing vote unless the original vote is questioned. So if I could have a moment to speak with town council just to clarify that before we continue with the debate, because I don't want to lose sight of that. So I have consulted with Attorney DeLuca on two issues. The first being the standing vote. There's not a mechanism for making a motion for a standing vote. The only way a standing vote can be requested either by the chair or by the town meeting body is if we first take a voice vote and then there is some doubt in the call of that vote, okay? The appropriate motion, if you want to change it from a voice vote, a simple voice vote, would be a motion for a roll call vote, okay? That's the first thing. The second thing I thought was an interesting question, what the better course is if the choice is to either vote the article down versus perhaps getting a motion from a member to refer it back to the planning board. And Attorney DeLuca, if you could just explain the difference, I'd appreciate it.
Certainly. Thank you, Madam Moderator, members of the meeting. The difference is really of a procedural nature. If there's a no vote, there's a bar to bringing back the same or similar motion for 2 years. A referral, on the other hand, leaves the body free to reconsider essentially the same motion after it's been reviewed, if it, in fact, there's some changes to be made. So my recommendation is if it needs more work, that a referral is better than a no vote. It can come up a lot quicker that way.
Okay, thank you. Chairman George, did you want to say something for the debate, or? Because
Yes,
you're
Madam
also a town meeting member, so you get to
I am, yes.
say a piece.
I just wanted to ask I want to ask the planning director just with a question who's also the zoning enforcement officer, just a question about in terms of enforcement. How would this be enforced? Because I know this was discussed at our planning board meetings regarding this article. So if I could, with the chair's permission, ask him to answer that question.
Thank you so much. Brian Zakelli, Planning Department. So it came up, the question at several of the hearings were, does this mean if I have non-compliance lighting, then I'm going to be fined immediately, which was essentially the question. So we typically get some type of a correspondence from a neighbor, and there are residential lighting that we have had issues. It's definitely true that it's mostly commercial, but there definitely are residential situations where there is light trespass. And we politely ask, but there was nothing for us to refer to, but how we've been doing this in the past is, how we're going to be doing this hopefully in the future is that we can cite a regulation. Fining wouldn't happen for typically, 3 months, 60 to 90 days if there's persistent infringement that someone's, going out of their way to be non-compliant. But there is a provision in this regulation that all lighting would eventually have to be compliant by 2034 for residential. So that's kind of the looking forward where all lighting would have to be compliant is in that 2034. That's the current date. And obviously everything of this can be massaged and changed to better accommodate Danvers. So thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any further discussion? Mr. Bates?
Good evening, Bill Bates, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 4. I think this is a good idea to do something with the lighting. We definitely have some particularly commercial people that are infringing on residents. I also think that the town needs to be a good neighbor with some of the schools and the lighting that's around those areas. So I would offer an amendment, Madam Moderator, to send this back to the planning board.
And is that in writing, Mr. Bates? Thank you very much.
Which way you want to go?
Thank you. Is there a second on the... So, Mr. Bates, you can certainly say anything more you want? No? All right. So currently, there is an amendment to send this warrant article number 10 back to the planning board to reconsider from Mr. Bates. Is there any further discussion on the proposed amendment? We already got the seconds. We're all set. Thank you. Yes. We need you to go to the microphone. Thank you.
Is an amendment different than a motion to table?
So essentially, the motion to table is the amendment. So Mr. Bates is amending the recommendation of the Finance Committee, which is this proposal,
Yeah.
amending it to sending the article back to the planning board for further study.
Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Okay? Is there any other discussion with regard to the amendment?
Just for clarification, what does the vote count mean if this? Majority or 2/3?
So the vote count needed for the amendment is majority. If the amendment passes, it then becomes a main motion. Am I correct that that then requires the 2/3 vote?
If the amendment passes for referral, that ends the matter. It goes back to the planning board. There'll be no vote with regard to the zoning amendment itself tonight. That would come at some later time.
So there's an amendment. The amendment passes. But then that then becomes the main motion that has
That
to be
becomes the
voted.
main motion, and it's a majority vote.
And that's a majority vote, because it's
Correct.
recommittal.
Correct.
Thank you very much. There we have our answer. Thank you, Mr. McKenna. All right, is there any further discussion about the proposed amendment to send this article back for further study to the planning board? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The motion to amend has carried. Now we turn to voting the main motion, which has been amended to recommit this Article 10 back to the planning board for further study. Is there any further discussion on the article as amended? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No. The motion carries, so Article 10 has been recommitted to the planning board for further study. A couple of things before we go. I just want to thank the planning board and the finance committee for their work in getting all these articles before us. And I also need, please, a motion to dissolve. I hear many motions. All those in favor of dissolution, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.